Okay, so you're the host. The YouTube is set up. So what you do is at the end of it all, you can just stop the live stream by clicking the top left button. I will download the video and edit it out just to start at the point where you start the conversation with.
So okay, so I on YouTube I click, and then it says stop live stream. Okay.
So at the end of the call, you just stop it when you're done. That's it. Cool. I will rejoin on my phone as a regular person as well. Sure. For now, let me just set it up on the platform, and then we're good to go.
Sure.
Thanks, Fred. All right. See you soon.
All right. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Trust you're doing well. I see a lot more people joining. So let's give ourselves another 5 minutes, just so we have a lot more people on, and then we can get started. So let's give ourselves another 5 minutes. Thank you. Hello, Governor.
Hello.
All right, okay, that's fine. I'm convinced your mic is working, so that's fine.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. Waiting for others to join them.
Okay. Is the video also okay?
Yeah, very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we'll get started. Others will join. I've sent information. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Fred Phillips from KIC, one of the trainers on this program. I welcome all of you to this afternoon's mentor session. This is the second we have series. I believe there's a lot to from our host today. I'll introduce him briefly and then we'll get started. So our mentor today is Kwabena Tufuor. So Kwabena is the lead for Prosect Feed Ghana. Prosect Feed is a company that creates insect-based protein concentrate for the poultry industry. That's a bit more about it. So I welcome Kwabena here. So Kwabena, you're welcome to this afternoon's session. So to get started, can you quickly introduce yourself? So tell us a bit about yourself and what you do at Prosect Feed.
So first of all, I'd like to say hello and good afternoon to everybody. And I understand that my Kenyan friends are also on board. So I say Jambo or Hejambo to all of them. My name is Kwabena Tufuor. As you rightly said, I am Prosect Feed lead and then also co-founder in charge of marketing and communications. I have about 8 years experience in marketing and communications, spanning various fields, radio, media. I've done media before. Then also I went into lubricants. And then now we are in real estate and then now the agribusiness sector. I am very, very passionate about entrepreneurship because, way back in school, I used to tell most of my friends in college that I want to run my business someday. And it's quite interesting that I fell into line. Actually, my first business that I started was somewhere in 2009, where, here in Ghana, when the final year students are leaving, they have their baggage and other luggage that they take back home. So I set up a truck that was supposed to sort of transport all the luggage home. It was a failure, but I took some learnings from that particular situation. And, moving forward, I have built another business, one in the cleaning as well as facilities management segment, and now here also in the agribusiness sector. So in a nutshell, this is who I am.
Thank you, Kwabena. This tells us the entrepreneur blood in you is so high. So keep. All right. So could you tell us briefly about Prosect Feed in particular? How it all started and the motivation that pushed you into this. Thank you.
Yes. So Prosect started, as a matter of fact, in 2019. Where as co-founders, we were part of the Cosmos Innovation Center Agritech Challenge. At that time, so many were, by the way, we are 4 co-founders, 3 engineers, and then myself, a marketing and communications person. We were looking at things, and one idea of what I wanted to solve. But then we had to form teams. And it was during that period that we initially wanted to, market meat via an online platform. But feedback from the ideation team made us go back and look within the value chain proper. And that was when we did come to realize that a very critical problem was farmers having poor access to feed. And there was high cost associated with this feed also, which made their produce, which was chicken, not very competitive on the marketplace as far as imported variants are also concerned. The other thing also is that we realized that a whopping $300 million worth of chicken was imported here in Ghana. at the time. And I think over here, I'd like to draw some parallels between the market here in Ghana and the market here in Kenya, for the sake of my Kenyan friends. One thing is that high cost of feed also affects a lot of markets here in Africa. And we got to realize that a farmer, feed alone costs the farmer about 70% of his live production cost. Then when we did a breakdown, we also realized that in that, protein alone constituted about 52%. So if we had to make any intervention, then it had to be from that place. I would also like to add that we as a team, we also fell on very good mentors that we had within the KIC space. And then also people that we had in our past, our social networks, there were people that we met and then went to see them. And they also provided us with certain insights within that space. So over here, it's very important that as an entrepreneur, you try to reach out and fall on very valuable resources that you may have. Now, back to what happened. So after that, we then came up and then realized that the best intervention was an insect-based protein, concentrate, or a substitute, which was to append the use of fish meal and then reduce also soya meal, which costs very much in the preparation of feed. Now, as we move forward, we then came up with our prototype. And I would like to say that our product is made by combining IoT, insect farming technology, and then a unique waste formulation process to be able to produce an insect-based protein concentrate, and then also provide an organic fertilizer for poultry farmers. So that is what we at Project Feed do. Moving on, our first thing was to get to validate a lot of assumptions. Now, a deeper dive into the market realized that 80% of the farmers here in Ghana were small-scale poultry farmers, and most of them formulated their own feed. Then also there was they used to also buy their their feed from commercial feed producers. But then installed capacity as of then was about 1,000 metric tons per day. But they could only produce half of it because it was too costly for farmers to buy. Then we realized that if indeed we could bring in this intervention to help farmers cut down their costs, then we can really make a lot of intervention in the market. So we chose 3 key areas to go out to the market to go and then validate our assumptions. Our assumptions was that 1, farmers were very adventurous and would like to test on feed, and then also 70% of them will be willing to formulate their own feed, so long as they come in touch with a product that will be able to make them do so. So we selected the Ashanti region, the Greater Accra region, and then also we selected the Bono Afo region, where it's mainly the hub of poultry farming. So we went through, met farmer-based groups, and then also met individual, commercial farmers, where we had focus group and deep interviews with them to understand their pain and how their processes went along. That validated some of our assumptions and then also caused us to change some of the models, the initial models that we wanted to operate onward with. Now, moving forward, we came back to Accra and then selected a particular FBO with influential farmers that we knew that if our testing went well, then we could piggyback on whatever testimony that they had to be able to bring in more farmers and rope them in as far as that was concerned. I would like with technical backstop from also key state institutions. Over here, we had the Center for Scientific and Industrial Research, the Animal Research. We went and then we had a nutritionist, and then we also had an entomologist. But quite apart from that, like I've said earlier, we also had very critical, individuals within the poultry value chain, and then they helped us. So we were able to come up with a prototype, which was first a Lavi meal. And then we carried out an A and B testing. So let me just explain what the A and B testing is. What it is that we divided our birds of the same breed into 4 teams. And then we now identified key competitors within the industry. So over here we had Fuji's, we had Sankofa, and other brands. Then we divided them into 4 and tested all these birds on the various competitor feed as well as ours. Now we fed them with our Lavi meal also. And the key pointers that we looked out for was for the feed conversion ratio, maturity period. We're also looking at the mortality rate. And even after we slaughtered the birds, we also took it to the Food Research Institute to look out for the fat content and all of that, because we wanted to use this as a unique selling point for farmers and for even the farmers themselves to use that as a basis to sell to their customers, because we are having a new breed of middle class who care about their health, and having fat-laden chicken wasn't something that was so much attractive to them. So that was how we started. And, so far we have been able to, upgrade to a full-blown protein concentrate as of now.
All
Back
right.
to you.
All right. Thanks, Governor. Very, very insightful delivery there. So the market is key here, and a critical analysis of the value chain is also important. Yes,
Exactly.
On the value chain analysis, I would want to find out from you, how did you use feedback to increase or create value?
Great. One of the things I would like to tell every entrepreneur listening to me, that feedback is very, very key. And I like to quote the words of one of the, the ideation members. Feedback is a gift. When we took it, it was able to help us modify the market. And that did not only come from our mentors, but even from the market itself. One of the things that enabled us to upgrade the product was that initially when we came out with a Lavi meal, we realized farmers were finding it very difficult to obtain the other ingredients necessary to formulate their own feed. Then again, it became quite expensive because they had to go out there to the market to gather all of these things. So we now sat down and then decided that we'll come out with a full-blown protein concentrate, which will only allow the farmer to add maize. I would like to highlight to everyone listening to me here that you need to look out for even some of the things which are not being said. There may be some feedback which is very, very palpable. The farmers themselves will give you, but then also be on the lookout for other nuances within the market, and then see how you can always stay ahead of the curve. So back to our conversation, we took that feedback and we're able to upgrade it to a full-blown protein concentrate, which then allowed the farmer just only to add a predetermined quantity of maize. This indeed made us, get a lot of orders. And as a matter of fact, one of the state institutions, the National Service Secretariat, placed an order for $17,000 worth of our feed. So feedback indeed is very, very essential in modifying your product, in tailoring your product to suit the market, and also ensuring that you are solving the key pain that the market, requires or the market has.
All right, thanks so much. So part of the lessons for us here is there are so many opportunities within the value chain, okay? Question is, how do you choose the most suitable one to pursue? How do you choose the most suitable
Over here,
one?
I would like to emphasize on one, your strengths and where your interests lie. You are highly likely to succeed when you choose a team that suits where your strengths are. So over here, I would like to say that even before, I don't know whether you are forming teams as entrepreneurs, but if you are in a team or if you want to work in a team in the future, look out for people whose interests and then values fit with what you are seeking to intervene in. or the particular value. Be a group of 3 engineers and then a marketer. Myself, I have knowledge within relation, value chain analysis and all of that. Then also we had a civil engineer in our midst. We had an agricultural engineer. So that made it quite easy for us to be able to opportunities out and then had a lot of conversations with farmers. Make sure that before you settle on where to go, it centers around your key customer. So you speak to your farmers, you're speaking to the end users, and that can guide you to be able to go through. I'll also say that you also do an analysis of the team that you want to work with. And that is what I would like to highlight on the BOSI quadrant, BOSI quadrant. So you look out for who can be the builder in the team. You look out for who can be the opportunist. You can look out for who can be the specialist and who can be the innovator over there within the team. And it is very essential also that you work with data and not just mere conjecture. Look at what the market tells you. Rely on previous research that has already been conducted. And that gives a lot of deeper insights, which will help you to be able to roll out your product moving forward. Fred.
Right. That's interesting. Using data and how important the process of experimentation is. Okay, Kwabena, so we've looked at, and for all the entrepreneurs here, we're looking at the identification of opportunities, and Kwabena has walked us through how important it is for us to undertake a deep analysis of the value chain we want to go into. Again, Kwabena, to you.
Yes.
In terms of your market, okay, can you be very specific with us? What informed the market in which you went into?
So, as I said earlier, one, we realized that small-scale poultry farmers were unable to meet the competition because of high feed costs. Then we looked further and realized that even amongst them, 70% of these farmers formulated their own feed, but they had problems getting the ingredients at a lower cost. That was one key finder. Then also we went ahead to realize that indeed, these farmers also were adventurous and were looking to, adopt new technologies as far as feed was concerned. We also went in and then identified that most of these farmers at a point were beginning to fold up. And I have a particular, video where we visited a farmer and he had only 3 days of feed left. This was because the feed costs were so costly that he didn't even have the means to procure enough. That became a driver for us to be able to move ahead. Furthermore, we also realized there was still excess capacity as far as feed supply was concerned, because there were, there were other shipments of foreign, feeds coming into the market. So indeed, we could plug into that place. Another one also was the fact that farmers wanted to have a product that was tailored to fit their specific needs. And I'd like to throw a highlight. When we rolled out our first product, we realized there was a farmer who got in touch with us from the Volta region, and he was just looking at tapping into people who were, on keto diets. Now, they needed low fat and, very healthy chicken. And that even allowed us to pitch to our farmers the ability to create new niche for them. So what I'm trying to say is that we analyzed the market, looked at the segment, focused on the small-scale poultry farmer with 10,000, 5,000 birds and below, because they constitute a huge segment of the market. And they were the ones who carried the first pain. And then we decided to settle there, serve them and serve them better.
Right, thank you, Kwabena. So with regards to the market and the process of experimentation, You've
Yes.
told us where you started, where you are now. Could you share with us where you want to go? I mean, 2-3 years down the line from now.
Currently, we are on stream to produce about 2.5 tons of raw larvae. And that is not what we are looking at. If you look at the market right now, like I said, there is an excess capacity of about 500 metric tons. We are looking to plug at least 10% of that. And I would like to highlight the fact that the market itself is worth about $48 million here in Ghana alone. And if we are looking at that alone, we cover that. We are looking at also moving to other regions. We are looking at the Nigerian market. We are looking at the Burkina Togolese market, and we will be able to do that through the deployment of our, agile and then very, very decentralized production process, which allows. The fact of the matter is that as first movers in the market, as far as our capacity is concerned, no other producer has been able to produce at the current capacity that we have. And we are aiming to leverage on that to capture markets quickly. At the same time, also, we want to decentralize this and move into new markets as far as possible. And within the next 3 years, we are looking forward to being able to produce at least 15 tons of larvae meal per month, which will enable us to produce not less than 80 tons of protein concentrate per month. Now, the other thing also is to be able to on-stream farmers so as to give them additional income. And let me explain how it works. We started with our outdoor program, where we realized that farmers normally dump their, poultry droppings and others over there. And that is actually part of our base material that we use in production. Our goal is to be able to bring on board 45 farmers within the next 6 months. And by the next 3 years, we would have onboarded not less than 200 farmers who will be able to earn not less than $100 a month. When we do that, we are impacting the market and at the same time also decreasing carbon footprint, which has also become a very critical part of our climate conversation as we move forward. So the future is very bright. We are going to leverage on tech, IoT to ensure that we increase our, our production capacity, enable our flies to be able to lay more, so we can serve a huge market. Because even as we produce now, we have a lot of orders in the offing, and to draw in the market for insect protein is becoming more and more interesting. It is very, very wide. When you look at the Kenyan market, for example, there are almost about 315 farmers farming protein. That means that there is also the opportunity for not only focusing on black soldier fly farming, but also plugging into other production processes such as cricket farming, mealworm farming, and then also even the palm weevil. So the future for us is very, very bright, and I'm very excited about where we are going, Fred.
Right. Thanks so much, Kabna. So for identification of the opportunity for our agripreneurs, the market is very, very critical. Kabna has walked us through. Now, Kabna, let's move the dial a bit and look at the resources. Okay.
Yeah.
What were some of the resources at play for you?
First off, I would like to talk about our human resource. I have already mentioned that we were 4 people, myself, and then 3 other engineers who, by virtue of our education, had a certain knowledge about research and all of that. We also fell on research institutions. And I would like to highlight to every entrepreneur over here that you don't only have to depend on yourself. Just like the, the system of Ubuntu, I am because we are. When you incorporate that, it is able to rope in a lot more actors to enable you go forward. We first of all received seed funding from KIC, which was $50,000. That enabled us to pilot our project. And then we also partnered with the Ghana Poultry Project under the us to scale. quite apart from that also, they were very key mentors who were able to help us. The other thing also was, state institutions. For instance, as we speak, we are getting, tax waivers regarding the importation of some, materials that we are bringing into the country. And I would even like to talk about the local metal fabrication ecosystem. And permit me to say that immediately when we started, Fred,
All right, looks like.
Others, and we needed to really look. We tapped into the look. We gave them the schematics for what we wanted. We built our own solar dryer, and then we also had to build a harvester and all of that within. So ours was an eclectic mix of people within academia, within research institutions, ourselves, and even our staff. And I would even like to tell you something about our first hire. Our first hire was a lady who had previously worked as, in a school, and then she came in to join us. And with the kind of dedication and commitment that she came on board, it helped us very well to be able to come at this point. So I'll just summarize by saying that it was ecosystem itself regarding research institutions, government policies, and others.
All right, thanks, Kwabena. Thanks so much on this. So the opportunity for us would depend on the kind of resources that are available. Also, well, so you've highlighted on all these. So I'm getting back to my colleagues here. Mo, do you have any questions for Kwabena? And then I'll turn to Doc, any other colleague of mine who has a question for Kwabena. So Mo, any questions?
Thank you, Fred. I have missed a bit of the discussion. I don't know if it's my network, but yeah, very interesting. No questions for now.
Okay. Doc, any?
And over here, I also like to, in the absence, I don't know if there are any other questions. So I continue with, a story.
Right. So now at this point, let me ask the audience if they have any questions, and then we can throw in your questions and kind of summarize it. Okay. So you tell your story. I don't have any questions coming in. So tell us your story.
Hello, Fred. Please, I had a question.
All right. Victor, go.
Yeah, Kwabena, very insightful presentation. I enjoyed it. With respect to the market sizing, you said the market had a size of 500 metric tons and it's worth $48 million. I would like to know if that's just for the insects, protein, niche, or the feed market as a whole.
Okay.
And sorry, please. And a second question to follow up. I also like to know more of the challenges that you faced in setting up this endeavor. Thank you.
Okay, sure. First off, regarding the capacity, I meant to talk about the installed capacity for commercial feed millers, which is about 1,000 metric tons. So what it means then is that they have installed, but the market does not demand enough for them to be able to exhaust that particular installation. The market, as we speak now, the total addressable market for feed is about $48 million and growing. Now, when you narrow it down to a niche, then we are talking about $6 million. But I will always encourage you that whilst you are building small, always set your sights also on the bigger picture. So yes, indeed, you are focusing on the Ghanaian market, but look at it because now we have ACTA, after African Free Continental Trade Agreement, and that allows us to be able to move into new markets. So whilst you're producing here, look at what is also happening around you and then make sure that you are able to tap into it. Then also talking about the challenges that we face. There were lots of challenges that came along our way. First was COVID, supply chain deficiencies. And then also it had to do with the technology itself. I mean, you know that temperature and then even humidity levels and all that even affects the feeding. So you need to be able to control your production premises where the flies are kept as best as possible. The other thing also is that we had challenges with our location. Initially, we had we had one of the farmers who, after testing, decided to lease part of her facility to us. But then we had, invasion of rats and all of these things coming into the space, rodents and other, predators that came within the premises, which sort of decimated our colonies. But that enabled us to deploy solutions on the fly, and then also made us not to make a lot of big losses. Because if we had gone in heavy at the initial moment, we would have made very, very big losses. So over here, my advice is that whilst you're moving forward, make sure that initially you pilot your process. Test every single stage of your production process to be able to make sure that it is robust enough before you go on a mass scale production. Quite apart from that, also, we have challenges, of course, with cash. And with that, we decided to plug into a lot of things. So when you need cash, ensure that you are also reaching out to, people, mentors, actors, connections within the ecosystem to be able to raise more capital. Then also, you have your own friction that will come with working with people. And over here, I'll always ask any founder or any co-founder, whether you are in a team, whether you are dealing with others, to be able to always take the high moral ground. I've always mentioned that concept of Ubuntu, which incorporates all of us to be able to achieve much. Right. Teamwork is very key. And one thing always is that you see everybody as an integral part of the business. Now, one segment is if you are even in teams, what will happen is that the spotlight may fall on each and every one of you at a certain point in time. Whether you are a leader or not, ensure that you do not allow yourself always to be at the forefront and bask in the limelight. Allow others to be able to operate. Have conversations and make sure that every single conversation you have is based on data and objectivity, not friendly alliances. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yeah, thank you, Papa.
Right? Yes, Dominic is also asking how we were able to solve, labor challenges, human resource. We had some of these things, but one of the grapevine, we normally adopted, working with people that we could trust. So we had to reach out to our networks within the community, advertise some of the jobs. And for some of them that were not so readily available, what we did was to liaise with research institutions to be able to provide us with that technical backstop. Fred.
All right, thank you. We have another question from Matthew. Matthew, if you can unmute and ask your question.
Okay, good afternoon to you all. Mr. Tufo,
yes.
Yeah, I heard, as you were speaking, I was listening to you, and I heard you said you had a problem with cash money.
Yes.
So actually, and I also heard you talking about a white $6 million, blah, a lot of money and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But I personally, I find myself around over about 30 farms. 30 farms, they are into poultry and stuff, and they are most of them are my friends. And when I speak to them, they always complain about feed and stuff, shortage of feed and stuff. So I'm wondering, I think if probably you could also narrow to maybe districts or regions, so you can make the cash from there, because they need it. And every week, one of my friends said he always buys a week, buys feed close to 55,000 gallons. 5,000 gallons is just a feed. So I'm thinking probably I don't know if you can narrow down to some districts or regional so that you can grow your finances there, financials and stuff. Okay, so that's my question. I don't know if you can adapt to it.
Of course, feedback well taken, and I think I will agree with you about the high cost of feed that is plaguing a lot of farmers, and we are ever committed to expanding and to solving this key pain of the poultry farmer.
All right. Any more questions?
Yes, sir. Sorry, I raised my hand earlier, but
All right, Daniel, go ahead.
all right, sir. So, Kwabena, thank you very much for your insightful discussion. My question is, with teammates or team players or team partners, how did you go about it? Because I see that to be a challenge, and recently, because at times, right from the beginning, people tend to show interest. It gets to a time where you face challenges, and probably you started and you invited them in. The moment they joined you later, it tends to be that whenever there are challenges, they want to step out. But I was glad you mentioned that whatever discussion, whatever program you're doing, you try to involve them in. But what should be some of the things that you need to check or to know before you get people to join you to start something of this sort? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Daniel. So first off, I've mentioned about going to read on the policy quadrants so that you know who can really get to work with. The other thing also is to look out for the character. Are the people really, the potential person you're going to work with very motivated? Are they committed to the things that they do? So initially, I would suggest that you need to have an open mind. Don't focus or don't narrow down just a few people. Set your sights on people. For us, we were, allowed to select our teammates while we were within the KIC challenge. But if maybe you are starting out on your own and you have to speak to a lot of people, speak to as many people as possible. Listen to them. Let them tell their story of what they've done in the past. That can enable you sift out who you can go along with and who you cannot. And I would like to say this, that, no matter how perfect any team will be, you will definitely have some few, challenges along the way. But like I said, the essence is for you to always remain committed and resolute to the vision of the team. And that's also one of the key criteria that you need to look out for when you are bringing members. It is not about self-interest. It's about your commitment to the collective vision that the business or the team is focused on doing. Look out for that. And when conflict arises, what I would like to say is that from the onset, try to find a common mentor, okay, that the whole team sort of rallies around and then, has some kind of allegiance to. Such a person can become a mediating person when it comes in. I'll also say that moving forward, as soon as your structures are then in place, then begin to think about how to get a board. Most of the time, some of the challenges that come across cannot be solved at the onset because probably you all have the same powers in the team. You have equal stake in the team, so nobody can really or should I say, coerce the other to do anything. But then when you have a board, that then begins to, exercise accountable to the board, and then that reduces that kind of friction that comes along with issues about task execution and all of that. I don't know if I've been able to answer your question, Dan.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Right. So we've hit a lot more on the resources required to do this. And what we just spoke about has to do with a team and the sort of skills they bring on board. Any other questions from our agripreneurs on the platform? If not, Pabna, can you conclude with your story and then I'll wrap it up?
Yes, so I would like to say that moving forward, I'll always like to say this: build relationships, build relationships, build relationships, meaningful relationships Wherever you go, make sure that your key goal is to build and nurture relationships that can take you forward. So as a business person, you need to start building relationships with bankers, with lawyers, with industry practitioners, with public servants, because you may be importing something that will be relevant for your use. That means that you need to, build relationships with custom officials and others. There may be issues regarding your company structure and others. You may have to build relationships with lawyers when it comes to funding and other. You need to. Then also look in your past. Most of the things that did work for us was the fact that we fell upon networks that we've been able to create in our past lives. I have been a person who was attending a lot of coaching sessions and all of that, and I made sure to connect with them from time to time. Sometimes the person that you connect with may not have, will not be somebody you may require initially. But make sure you nurture and curate such relationships, because in future you may need them. One essential tool, or should I say quality, that any entrepreneur will need is the ability to nurture very fruitful relationships. So I would like to say that. Then also I would say that make sure you are able to break your model down to its barest minimum. So you allow, or you get to understand where every segment operates. And I'd like to give an example. Initially, when we started out, we're looking at, a very centralized production that could enable us be able to move forward. But then we saw that if we are to go according to that model, we will not be able to capture our markets quicker. The other thing also is that our logistical cost will be minimal. So we came up with the decentralized plan that enable us to be able to move forward and be able to, capture markets quickly. The other thing I also like to say is that for every person that you meet, especially when you're outsourcing jobs, when you're outsourcing, part of your production process, or should I say anybody is coming to work for you, make them very, very well. We have learned kind of, we've had very painful experiences from artisans to agents and others who have costed some kind of time and then money. So you need to have such a wide pool of that. And you don't need to do it all by yourself. It can be your own student network. It can be through your mentors. It can be through, other industry sessions and all of that you go. Then keep on research. A lot of times, we as entrepreneurs, we get comfortable when the orders are flowing in. Maybe initially you've been able to strike gold. The market seems to be very ripe. Orders are coming through the roof. And you begin to think that you have arrived and you can just ride on those waves. But the market has said that it dips and then it goes up and down. One of the things is always to think and look out for challenges which might emerge. I would like to quote something that Jack Ma said in one of his speeches. He said, when you think a lot of things are going right, that is the best time to begin to think about innovation, because products will have their life cycles, they will hit their peak and then begin to dip. Think about how you can constantly innovate within that field by incorporating new research, new data, look at other markets, even look at what your competitors are doing, not copying. The essence is not to do copycats, but to glean from them some of the pointers, new activities that they are engaging in, so that you are able to glean from them will then be applied to your business. Also try to be very, very lean as possible. And I'd like to cite a very critical example. Just early, we saw a very huge spike in the price of maize, which affected demand for our products. We immediately had to reach out and then redesign our product in such a way comes a new product that can combat, any future hikes in the price of feed should that happen, especially with maize or carbohydrate part of feed, which constitutes about 32% of the whole feed mix. So I'll always ask all entrepreneurs to be on the lookout, learn, attend, make use of all the other mentorship sessions or business, meetings that you have, reach out, grow and nurture relationships, and always have a very, very, very tough backbone. Entrepreneurship is not easy. One of the things that I've come to realize is that when you are ever determined and resilient enough, you can weather the storm, not by yourself, but as a team when you come together and then you think through. One other thing also that I'd like to talk about is making sure that you break down your model so you are able to make decisions faster. There is something that I call decision fatigue, where you realize that because you are faced with so many problems and then options, you are not able to make clear-cut decisions, and that can cost the business very much. Always make it a point to have regular meeting schedules and then break down every challenge that you are having and make sure that every team member, including even hard staff, has an input in the decisions that you are going to take. It takes off the burden off all of you, and then it brings fresher perspective into whatever solutions that you are trying to deploy. Back to you, Fred.
Thank you, Governor. This has been very, very insightful for agripreneurs. There are a lot of lessons here that we've learned. I would encourage you to put them into practical use. I'll share Pabna's contact details with all of us. If there's a need for you to reach out to him, let's do that. So in today's session, we've realized that the identification of business opportunity is key, and there are a lot of factors for us to look out for. Let's critically do that. Again, what sort of resources, what's the market telling us? What are our customers telling us? And making sure that at least we are on the right track, and that's a sure way for our business to kind of expand and see the growth. Feedback is very critical. Feedback from your stakeholders, feedback from your customers, and then from your mentors is also critical. When in doubt, don't hesitate to ask. There are a lot of resources at our disposal. And most times we are not fully aware. Let's make that deliberate effort to kind of look out for those resources. So thank you, Kobna, and thanks to all our agripreneurs and my colleagues on the platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Fred, and thank you to all the audience for making time to let us share and then explore all our story and what we have to be able to share so far as this is also about. And I look forward to connecting with anybody who wants to have more insights and would like to pick some thoughts from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kobna. Mo, before I bring everything to a close, do you have any closing remarks for us?
Thank you very much for your time. Very insightful. And hopefully we can have you again soon. Many of the lessons you touched, actually, we're going to talk about it next week also. So it's going to be relevant for also our next week's session. We have the recording and we will contact you again. So, but thank you very much for the insightful conversation.
Thank you, Mo.
Thank you, Mo.
All right. For our agripreneurs, I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. GMT for us to go through our lessons. So please, for those of you who haven't responded to the questions, kindly do that. That allows us to give the feedback we're supposed to do. I mean, help us to all learn and get the best out of this. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.